I encountered an injured Samoyed, and at my best friend's urging, I took it home to treat its wounds and kept it by my side. Gradually, I realized the Samoyed was too possessive, not allowing me to get close to anyone or any animal other than itself. Even more terrifying, one day, it suddenly transformed into a tall, strong man. He assumed the role of my boyfriend, interfering with all my friendships and forbidding me from interacting with anyone, including my parents and brother. I wanted to escape from him, but my best friend said I didn't know how lucky I was. How could I even think of leaving such a handsome man? But she didn't know that the werewolf's possessiveness had reached a perverse level. He imprisoned me in a remote villa, violating and tormenting me night after night, until I became pregnant. Unable to bear the humiliation, I sneaked out to find my best friend while he was away from home. Little did I know, my best friend, jealous of the love I received from the werewolf, revealed my whereabouts to him, and in front of the werewolf, she claimed that the reason I fled from him was because my family did not allow us to be together. Unexpectedly, the werewolf went mad. He killed my parents and brother, and then imprisoned me in a villa, torturing me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I met the Samoyed. Greta, this Samoyed is injured, it's so pitiful, let's take it home. The memory of being imprisoned and tortured to death in my previous life was still vivid in my mind. The image of my parents and brother's scattered limbs all over the living room flashed through my mind, and my heart tightened. The sharp, lingering pain was still unmistakably clear. I looked at my best friend Evelyn across from me, who was gazing at me with a pleading expression. A cold glint flashed in my lowered eyes, and when I looked up again, I had returned to normal. I smiled and said, "Sure, Evelyn, you've always been the kindest. I think you'd be most willing to adopt a dog." Evelyn looked at me, clearly taken aback. I looked at George walking towards us from behind her and quickly waved at him. "George, come quickly, there's an injured Samoyed here. Evelyn is kind-hearted and wants to adopt it." Evelyn's face immediately turned pale, but as she saw George approaching, she quickly suppressed her anger. I lowered my head and curled a cold smile. Evelyn likes George, and I'm sure she won't miss this chance to impress him in front of George. Sure enough, when George asked with a smile, "Classmate Evelyn, do you want to keep this Samoyed?" I never expected classmate Evelyn to not only be diligent in her studies but also beautiful and kind-hearted. Hearing George's words, Evelyn flashed an innocent and sweet smile. "Monitor, I've loved small animals since I was a child and have always wanted to raise a dog. I never expected such a coincidence today. I actually came across one. It seems I have a special connection with this Samoyed." As she spoke, she looked at me. "Greta, don't you dare compete with me for it." I thought to myself, what would I be competing with you for? To see who dies faster. In the end, the white wolf was taken home by Evelyn. When I got home in the evening and saw my parents and older brother watching TV in the living room, I couldn't help but feel my eyes welling up, and tears quietly streamed down my cheeks. "It's wonderful. Mom, Dad, and my brother are all alive and well." I clenched my fists and told myself that in this second chance at life, I must protect my family, until my mother's voice, tinged with laughter, rang out, "What are you doing, standing there like a fool at the door instead of coming in?" I snapped back to reality, quickly wiping the tears from the corners of my eyes before rushing over to my parents on the sofa. "Mom, Dad, I missed you." My mother patted my back and chuckled. "Look at you, all grown up and still not afraid of being laughed at." I held back the tears in my eyes. "No matter how old I am, I'm still your and Dad's precious one. Can't I just give you a hug?" Dad smiled and patted my back. Of course, you'll always be Mom and Dad's precious one." I smiled and stood up, walking toward my brother. My brother smiled and extended his arms. All right, you're the princess of the family, and we're all your knights." "Okay." My nose tingled, and I was on the verge of tears again, which made my brother cry out in alarm. "Hey, it's not that serious, is it?" Getting so moved by just one sentence. "I treat you so well all the time, and I never see you shed a single tear." Mom laughed and gave my brother a slap. "What, do you want your sister to cry in front of you every day?" My brother rubbed his head where he had been hit. "I never said that, Mom, you messed up my hairstyle." I laughed. Once again, I felt fortunate to have escaped that brutal werewolf. I had no classes the next morning. In the afternoon, as soon as I arrived at the classroom, my desk mate Tina told me, "Greta, have you heard? Evelyn has a super clingy and adorable Samoyed, and she brought it to school today. That Samoyed is really huge. So many people are taking photos with it, you have no idea." Evelyn posted a video of her interacting with the Samoyed online, and it's already been reposted over 10,000 times. now her short video account has gained more than 200,000 followers. Hearing this, I couldn't help but curl the corners of my lips. Oh, well, congratulations to her, that's a good thing. Just as we were talking, Evelyn walked in from outside, holding a book. Hearing my words, she covered her mouth and chuckled lightly. Greta, it's all thanks to you. If you hadn't given up on White back then, I wouldn't have gotten such an adorable dog like White. Upon hearing this, the other classmates glanced back and forth between me and Evelyn. A curious classmate asked, Evelyn, what do you mean? Did Greta give you that Samoyed? Evelyn quickly explained, what are you all talking about? Greta's family is wealthy, how could she possibly keep a dog like a Samoyed, which isn't worth much? Besides, the Samoyed is injured, so it's normal for Greta not to want to keep it, after all. Who would like a dog that's hurt? Upon hearing this, everyone looked at me with a hint of strangeness in their eyes. Someone whispered, what's so great about being from a wealthy family? Someone like Greta, who lacks compassion, is just a poisonous beauty, no matter how pretty she is. Exactly, I heard that Evelyn's family is in a very poor financial situation. She has 3 older sisters and a younger brother. With such a family background, she still manages to raise such a robust Samoyed. She truly is beautiful inside and out. What an inspiring beauty. As a girl, I'm almost moved to tears. Evelyn is really so compassionate. As a man, I'm almost moved to tears. I've decided that from now on, my pursuit will be Evelyn. As for Greta, forget it. She's just a malicious rich girl with nothing but a pretty face and no substance. Tina, standing nearby, couldn't hold back her anger and jumped up to argue with them, but I pulled her back. Tina, don't mind those idle gossip. I don't care. Thinking back to the experiences of my past life, I only feel that I am very happy now. However, my concessions don't seem to have made some people settle down. The next day, as soon as I entered the school, I noticed that everyone was looking at me with contempt and hostility, even as I walked through the school's tree-lined path. 2 boys deliberately splashed milk on me. Seeing me glare at them coldly, the 2 boys said nonchalantly, oh, sorry, it wasn't on purpose, we just wanted to see if the heart of the vicious campus belle is black or not. I clenched my fists and walked step by step toward the 2 of them. Seeing this, the 2 boys backed away with a show of bravado. Greta, what are you going to do? We've already apologized. What more do you want? I sneered and swung my fist at the 2 of them. Ouch. The 2 boys instantly howled in pain. I caught sight of a few people who looked like teachers heading this way, so I quickly stepped forward to support the 2 boys. A glimmer of tears flashed in my eyes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I just bumped into you, but you don't have to hit me, do you? Woo-woo, I'm really sorry. The voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for the teachers to hear. One of the female teachers scolded, what's going on, you 2 grown men? Just because a girl bumped into you, do you have to hit her? 2 boys covered their bruised eyes. Teacher, she did it on purpose, and, alright, it's not a big deal, you're grown men, why are you acting so fussy and petty? Look, the girl has already apologized. What more do you want? The 2 boys whimpered pitifully. Teacher, alright, go back now. Use some ice to reduce the swelling. I've told you all to exercise more often. Not spend all day in internet cafes playing games. Your physical fitness is really poor. 2 grown men getting knocked over by such a slender girl. I smiled and thanked the teachers. When I returned to the classroom, I noticed everyone was gathered together discussing something. As I walked in, everyone shot me disdainful looks. Tina tugged at my sleeve. Greta, quickly look at Evelyn's short video account. I opened my phone with a puzzled expression. And the scene that greeted my eyes was Evelyn playing and interacting with that white wolf. Below were uniform praises and envy. Wow, the interaction between the beauty and the dog is so loving and healing. A kind-hearted and beautiful girl is the most attractive. I love it. I really like this girl, and I also really like her dog. Can the girl update more videos with her dog in the future? I will definitely watch them as soon as they come out. Judging by the young lady's appearance, she seems to be a college student. I wonder which school she's from. I really want to meet the beauty in person. To the person above, I know, the young lady is named Evelyn, a junior in the School of Biology at GH University. Thanks, buddy. Another video was of Evelyn's conversation with me in the classroom that day. The comments section below the video is filled with nothing but insults and hostility directed at me. Greta is truly ugly both inside and out. What rich second generation, what official second generation, they're all cold-hearted people who live in a bubble, unaware of the hardships of ordinary life. their character is even worse, unlike our beloved Evelyn, who comes from a poor family but has such noble qualities. Exactly, and the key point is, she's also the class beauty and very good looking. I'll timidly say this, everyone, please don't hit me. Although Greta is malicious and lacks compassion, she is indeed beautiful, and it seems she's also a top student. If you don't know how to speak, then don't say anything, shut your foul mouth. What's the use of being good-looking if your heart is filthy? To the person upstairs praising Greta, I seriously suspect you're a paid shill she hired. Exactly, Greta's bootlickers should get lost as far as possible. I heard Greta is also a close friend of Evelyn's classmate, Evelyn. Baby, if you have a friend like this, run fast. What kind of close friend? Evelyn's family is so poor, and I haven't seen Greta offer any help. Could it be a fake friendship? It's definitely a fake friendship, no need to say more. Thousands of comments, all filled with insults directed at me. I sneered coldly, looking at the woman in front of me who was acting as if nothing had happened. Best friend. A backstabbing best friend who's sending you to your death. You can have her. Evelyn and I met during our senior year of high school. In the first semester of senior year, a transfer student suddenly joined our class. This transfer student was none other than Evelyn. Evelyn came from a poor family, was introverted and insecure, and struggled academically. Suddenly transferred to our class, she couldn't keep up with the teacher's pace, and due to her usual silence, she was ostracized by most of the class. That's just how people are, they always like to bully those they perceive as weaker. Back then, I was bold and righteous, and I couldn't stand seeing them bully a newcomer, so, one afternoon, when Evelyn was once again cornered and bullied by a few female classmates in the restroom, I stepped in and gave them a stern lesson. I even declared that from then on, Evelyn was under my protection, and anyone who dared to bully her would be going against me. After that, everyone accepted that Evelyn was under my wing, and no one dared to bully her again, and Evelyn and I became best friends who could talk about anything. Knowing that her family was not well off, I basically covered all her expenses at school, including her daily food, clothing, and other necessities. After all, for me, that amount of money really wasn't much. My parents were aware of her situation and difficulties, and they sympathized with her, often buying her gifts and clothes. However, I never expected that my devotion to Evelyn would ultimately become a case of the farmer and the snake. Thinking of the tragic deaths of myself, my parents, and my brother in my previous life, I looked at Evelyn's retreating figure, a cold smile unconsciously curling at the corner of my mouth. I originally thought that as long as I ignored the unpleasant voices on the internet, they would gradually fade away over time. In this life, I have given up on Evelyn as my close friend. Based on my understanding of werewolves, I don't need to do anything. Evelyn's fate will be miserable enough, so, I just need to cherish the time with my parents and brother and focus on preparing for my graduation. It wasn't until 5 days later, when the principal called me into the office for a talk, that I realized my inaction hadn't kept Evelyn in check. Even in death, she was eager for me to give her a push. Well, she can't blame me for not holding back. Principal's office. Student Greta, have you seen the videos online these past few days? I raised my eyebrows slightly, feigning ignorance. Principal, what videos are you referring to? I'm not quite sure. It's the video that Evelyn posted online, and netizens seem to have a rather negative opinion of you. I didn't want to get involved in this matter originally, but the number of shares is just too high, since you're a student at our school. This incident has had a significant impact on our school's reputation. I raised an eyebrow. Principal, don't you think you've come to the wrong person? The video was posted by Evelyn, and the account is hers. If you want to resolve this issue, you should have Evelyn delete the video and apologize online. Why are you coming to me instead? Upon hearing this, the principal cleared his throat lightly, covering his mouth. Ahem, well, I've already spoken with Evelyn about it. She said she would delete the original video, but as for the ones that have already been shared by netizens, there's nothing she can do. I chuckled lightly. Oh, really? She's now a blogger with 500,000 followers. Couldn't she just post an apology video? The principal was taken aback, clearly not expecting me to say that. Apologize? Yes, the video was posted by her, and the trouble was caused by her. If she doesn't apologize, should I be the one to apologize? But all those unfriendly comments were directed at you, I sneered. So they're planning to push me out as cannon fodder. Do they really think I, Greta, am an easy target? Principal, how do you know the video Evelyn posted is the truth? Upon hearing this, the dean beside him quickly asked, Student Evelyn, could it be that there's more to this story? I looked at the dean. Dean, let's call Evelyn over and confront her. Not long after, Evelyn was brought over by the homeroom teacher, followed by my childhood friend, George. When she saw me, her gaze instinctively shifted away, not daring to meet my eyes. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. A rat is always a rat, always scheming behind the scenes. Classmate Evelyn, classmate Greta says the video you posted does not match the facts. Could you please explain what exactly is going on? Evelyn looked at me, and her eyes suddenly turned red. Principal, I don't know why Greta would say that. Many classmates in our class heard the conversation between Greta and me that day. They can testify for me, so I don't understand what she means by not matching the facts. If the principal doesn't believe me, you can ask the classmates who were present at the time. I looked at Evelyn across from me, and for the 100th time, I felt that my past self was blind. How could I have ever thought that such a shady, green tea, rat-like person was pure and kind-hearted? Principal, on the day we found the Samoyed, it was Evelyn herself who volunteered to take care of it. I never once said I disliked the Samoyed. My family is wealthy, but that is not a reason for others to morally coerce me, I said, looking at the principal beside me. Principal, who says that just because my family has money, I have to help every Tom, Dick, and Harry. People can be ungrateful, let alone animals. After I finished speaking, I looked at Evelyn across from me and saw her face flushed red. I feel a bit like laughing. I hit a sore spot, and she got angry out of embarrassment. The principal gave a forced laugh on the side. That's the principal, indeed. However, Evelyn was not willing to let it go like this. She then said, Greta, actually, admitting that you don't like small animals is no big deal. None of us will blame you. What I said that day was also the truth, and all the classmates heard it. I sneered, fine. Since you keep insisting that the classmates all heard it, then go confront them. Principal, among the netizens, there are many students from our school. Since that's the case, why not simply gather all the teachers and students of the school to give everyone an explanation? If I really were that kind of person, I would immediately apologize in front of all the teachers and students of the school and the netizens across the country. I just wonder if Evelyn dares to confront the situation. Evelyn's expression changed slightly, and George, standing beside her, quickly gave her a reassuring look. Seeing this, Evelyn looked at me, hesitating to speak. Greta, considering our friendship, I didn't want to escalate things and bring you any trouble, but since you keep pushing me, I have no choice. What a perfect display of a green tea White Lotus. The principal and the homeroom teacher spoke up simultaneously from the side. Greta, you heard it too. Evelyn doesn't want to make a big deal out of this, worried it might affect you badly. How about you just record an apology video? There's no need to apologize publicly in front of the whole school. After all, you're about to graduate, and by then, principal, homeroom teacher, there's no need. With a good friend like Evelyn fanning the flames, I don't have a good reputation among my classmates and netizens anyway. I'm not afraid of adding one more mark against me. I deliberately emphasized the words, good friend, with great weight, and seeing Evelyn's face turn pale and then flush with anger, I felt quite pleased. Hearing me say this, the principal and several leaders had no choice but to agree to my proposal. They indicated that they would gather all the teachers and students of the school in the afternoon. I secretly rejoiced inside, but on the surface, I maintained a look of gloom and despair. It's morning now, with 2 hours left until the afternoon. In the school cafeteria, Greta, have you really agreed to confront Evelyn in front of the entire school? I nodded, yes. Tina looked as if he were hopping around anxiously. Greta, Evelyn's popularity isn't just soaring online, it's skyrocketing at our school too, especially among the boys. If you do this, I'm afraid it might backfire. Among our classmates, there are quite a few popular bloggers. I'm worried. I understood what Tina meant, but that's exactly the effect I wanted. It would be best if all the famous bloggers came to the scene. I patted my deskmate's shoulder to reassure her. At that moment, an untimely noise sounded in front of me. Greta, are you really going to do this? Are you just going to throw away our 4 years of feelings like that? I looked up to see Evelyn standing in front of me with a tray of food, accompanied by George. It turns out that people really do laugh when they're angry. How can someone be so shameless? However, before I could speak, Tina, who was standing nearby, couldn't stand it any longer. Evelyn, you're really disgusting. You were the one who released the video, you were the one who allowed netizens to attack Greta, and you were the one who used sly words to cause misunderstandings among classmates. How do you still have the nerve to say such things? Greta treated you like a best friend, sharing all the delicious food and beautiful things with you, even taking you on trips. What have you done? is this how you stab her in the back and incite netizens to slander her? Tina said, sweeping a glance over Evelyn from head to toe. The clothes you're wearing now are still Greta's. How on earth do you have the nerve to come and prance around in front of her? Evelyn, oh Evelyn. I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone as shameless as you. I was taken aback, knowing that Tina was usually sharp-tongued, but I never expected that her usual remarks were just the tip of the iceberg. However, Tina's retort left me feeling quite pleased, especially seeing Evelyn so angry that she couldn't even speak. I was even happier. I chuckled softly, giving Tina a thumbs up, and then said to her calmly, Tina, you missed one thing, the shoes she's wearing are also mine. Evelyn, her eyes red, shouted, Greta, I know my family background isn't good, and I've accepted many things you've used before. I never minded. After all, we're good friends and shouldn't distinguish between yours and mine, but this time, I really didn't mean it. I don't know why the netizens would think that way. I truly had no ill intentions. George, standing nearby, clearly couldn't stand it anymore. He said, classmate Greta, Evelyn has already said she didn't mean it. The netizens took her words out of context, and besides, what she said is true. Her family background is poor, everyone knows that, but she works so hard every day, and we all see it. How can you let Tina humiliate her like this? I really misjudged you, Greta. I suppressed the urge to slap someone and looked at George beside me, my childhood friend, who grew up with me, felt a chill in my heart. Yes, George's father and my father are good friends. And we grew up together as childhood sweethearts, and Evelyn could play with George because of me. In the previous life, the fact that he and Evelyn could be together was largely due to my assistance. However, later on, Evelyn accidentally found out that the Samoyed I picked up was a werewolf and a super handsome guy, and she started to ignore George. Instead, she began to show frequent favor towards Knight. Knight was the werewolf from the previous life. Because of Knight's bloodthirsty and cruel nature, I was afraid he would harm Evelyn, so I didn't dare to tell Evelyn about Knight's situation and could only try my best to prevent them from meeting. However, Evelyn thought I was being petty and didn't want him to meet the handsome Knight, which led to a big argument between us. After that, Knight imprisoned me in the villa and violated me night after night. Later, I discovered I was pregnant and managed to escape by any means necessary. After getting out, I immediately went home to find my parents. To my shock, all I saw were the scattered limbs of my family members. Only then did I realize that Knight had killed them. Because I trusted Evelyn, I went to find her, hoping to hide at her place for a few days and then find an opportunity to avenge my parents and brother. However, when Evelyn learned about my situation, she scolded me, saying I didn't know how lucky I was. Being liked and possessed by someone as handsome as Knight should make me happy, so why would I even think of running away? At that time, she was already engaged to George. She also said that if she had known Samoyed was such a handsome guy, she shouldn't have let me take care of him in the first place. Wouldn't it be better to keep him for yourself as a husband? That was the first time I ever got angry with her. I was angry that she didn't understand the seriousness of the situation. And even more angry that she didn't appreciate George's love, always wanting more while already having enough. Because of this, I had an argument with her and left her house. At that time, I trusted her completely, and fearing that Knight would find me, I didn't delve too deeply into the meaning behind her words. It wasn't until Knight found me and locked me back in the villa that I learned from him that it was Evelyn who had told him my whereabouts. Looking back now, Evelyn must have known about my situation back then, but how much of the envy she spoke of was genuine, and how much was false? Since she's jealous that I can be with that handsome guy Knight, why would she tell him about my whereabouts? If I leave Knight, wouldn't that give her more opportunities to get close to him? This is something I've never been able to figure out. George, if you like her, I have no objection. After all, it's your own business, but what the truth really is, you probably know better than I do, right? Are you accusing me now? Doesn't your conscience ache? As a friend, and out of respect for Uncle Green, I kindly remind you that what you see with your eyes isn't always the truth. People's hearts are fickle, especially one that's already blackened. You should take care of yourself. I'm not sure if it's my imagination, but I felt a flicker of heartache and guilt in George's eyes after hearing my words. Are you crazy? How could George possibly show that kind of expression? I, along with Tina, humiliated his goddess. He should hate me. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. They must be. Thinking this, I looked at Evelyn beside me and leaned close to her ear. Since you want to play, I'll accompany you slowly. I love watching villains slowly play themselves to death. After saying that, I no longer paid attention to the two gazes fixed on me from behind. So much so that I didn't notice a pair of eyes filled with guilt and tenderness following me until my figure disappeared at the door. Evelyn withdrew his gaze just in time to see George staring blankly at the spot where Greta had disappeared, a flicker of gloom passing through his eyes. What's wrong? Feeling sorry for her? If you're feeling sorry for her, then go find her. George snapped back to reality, a flicker of dark light flashing in his lowered eyes before he raised a smile. How could that be? You know very well that it's you I like. Before, I didn't know how you felt, and I didn't dare to show my feelings to you. That's why I often used the excuse of looking for Greta to see you. Now that I know you like me too, I'm overjoyed. Why would I still go looking for her? Oh, didn't you say White's food is running out? I've already had someone personally go to the farm to pick the best sheep and cows. They'll be delivered tonight. Upon hearing this, the woman finally showed a smile on her face. That's more like it. I forgive you, as long as you're happy. I was so angry with Greta just now that the food got cold. Wait here, I'll go buy you a fresh serving. With that, he turned and left. The moment the man turned around, the smile on his face vanished instantly, replaced by a chilling coldness. In the afternoon, at the school playground, many teachers and students had already gathered. The crowd was buzzing with noise. Everyone was aware of the video that had been causing a stir online recently. Student Greta from the School of Biology has been accused of not caring for animals, ignoring an injured Samoyed, and being unworthy of studying biology. Online, there is widespread condemnation of her. Even the school's reputation has been affected. It seems that calling them here today is also for this matter. A moment later, the principal, the dean of the School of Biological Sciences, and several other school leaders arrived together. Meanwhile, Tina and I ran into Evelyn at the entrance. Following behind her was George, my childhood friend. How ironic, two people I once treated with all my heart are now teaming up to bring me down. George saw me and seemed hesitant to speak. Greta, I looked at him coldly. Take good care of your treasure, or you might not even know how you die. With that, I strode away without looking back at the two behind me. On the stage, after a grandiloquent opening speech by the principal, the topic was handed over to me. Now, let's hear from the two parties involved about what exactly happened in the recent videos. I looked out at the teachers and students in the audience, spotting a few popular bloggers among the crowd. The corner of the mouth lifted slightly. Regarding the video posted by Evelyn, I believe everyone has seen it. The Samoyed in the video was actually found by both Evelyn and me. It was indeed Evelyn who suggested adopting the Samoyed. The audience immediately erupted into chaos. See, Greta admitted it herself. It was Evelyn who suggested adopting the Samoyed. I always said Evelyn is beautiful and kind-hearted. I love it. I love it. So beautiful and hardworking. I just loved this kind of strong female lead. Listening to the crowd's admiration for Evelyn, I couldn't help but want to laugh. Then I continued, but, at first, Evelyn didn't want to raise it herself. She just wanted to find a sucker to do it for her. Someone asked, Greta, when you say Evelyn wanted to find a sucker to raise it, are you referring to yourself as that sucker? I chuckled lightly. Classmate, why would you ask that? Oh, because I heard that Evelyn and you were best friends since high school, and you've been covering almost all her expenses at school. The crowd instantly erupted into an uproar. Is that true or false? All the expenses, that's not a small amount, and wasn't it said that Evelyn's family is poor? I see her usual outfits aren't cheap, I casually remarked. Oh, because I gave all those to her. Oh my, so, Greta is really good to her best friend. I'm so envious of having a best friend like that. Yeah, if I had a best friend like that, I'd wake up laughing in my dreams. Give me a whole stack of friends like that. Evelyn, standing nearby, had long lost her earlier composure and calm, seeing the situation begin to spiral out of control. She quickly said, Principal, regarding the video incident, I apologize to Greta and all of you. I shouldn't have uploaded it to my account. As for whether Greta likes small animals, I really don't know. After all, after being friends with her for so many years, I've never seen her keep any small animals. Everyone's attention was drawn back to her. That's right. Weren't we supposed to talk about whether the video is real or fake? Why are we going off on a tangent again, Greta? Don't change the subject. Exactly. Evelyn's care for small animals is an indisputable fact. Greta is now changing the subject, undoubtedly just to divert the fire. That must be it. I looked at Evelyn beside me and saw a triumphant smile curling at the corner of her mouth. Evelyn, are you sure your video didn't distort the facts? Evelyn's eyes were red. Greta, I know that over the past few years, I've received a lot of your care, but I've also bought you gifts. I brought you meals every day, bought you drinks, Do you really think none of that matters? I apologize for the video, but you were the one who voluntarily gave up adopting the Samoyed. These are all facts, and the class monitor knows them too. A curious classmate, upon hearing this, quickly turned to ask George beside them, classmate Green, is everything Evelyn said true? George looked at me with an inexplicable expression. I stared intently at George, still holding on to some hope for him. However, when George nodded and uttered that, yes, my heart couldn't help but ache with a sharp pain. George clearly knew that on the day the Samoyed was found, it was Evelyn's own vanity that led her to adopt it. Now he was actually helping Evelyn frame me. My face turned pale, my eyes filled with disappointment in George, yet I failed to notice the fleeting heartache and reluctance in George's gaze. Evelyn, you are so certain that I have no evidence. Which is why you keep slandering me and challenging my bottom line, Greta. Then today, I will let you see the consequences of provoking me. After saying that, I winked at Tina, and she made an okay gesture. Not long after, the broadcast on the playground played Evelyn's smug and hypocritical words, class monitor, I've loved small animals since I was a child and have always wanted to raise a dog. I never expected it to be such a coincidence today that I came across one. It seems I have a special connection with this Samoyed. Greta, don't you dare compete with me for it. The recording was clear and audible, and everyone immediately recognized it as Evelyn's voice. The audience erupted in an uproar. The gazes directed at Evelyn were now filled with contempt and disdain. Heavens, so this is the truth. Who would have thought that Evelyn is actually a liar? You can't tell. Evelyn looks so gentle and fragile, yet her mind is so deep, truly. You can't judge a book by its cover. No, doesn't anyone think that classmate Greta is the most pitiful one? She gave her all to her best friend, only to end up being framed and subjected to online abuse. Yes, 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 classmate Greta is the most pitiful. Exactly. This is truly a story of the farmer and the snake. After this incident, I will never again fantasize about finding a best friend with whom I can share everything. I've been badly let down by so-called best friends before. I've always stood by Greta, and thankfully, our goddess Greta was well prepared. Otherwise, those ignorant netizens might still be kept in the dark by Evelyn. Exactly, exactly. Fortunately, our goddess Greta is wise and clever. That's right, just look at their family background. How could their upbringing be anything less than excellent? Listening to the conversations among the crowd, I just smiled. This is the terrifying power of public opinion. It can easily lift someone up, and just as easily tear them down. Opposite, Evelyn's face had already turned deathly pale, tears streaming as she kept apologizing to the principal. The principal's face was filled with disappointment. Student Evelyn, I always thought that despite your poor family background, your character should be upright, but now it seems, alas, you have truly let me down. I looked at Evelyn, who was in tears, with a cold expression, feeling an unusual calm in my heart. Strangely, George didn't say a single word about my actions just now. Evelyn's incident was posted online by several popular bloggers. In just 2 days, the video views exceeded 100 million. And Evelyn went from being the beloved little fairy to a white-eyed wolf who told lies and was ungrateful. Then, I contacted those bloggers and sent them all the bills I had spent on Evelyn over the years. With their help, Evelyn's account was instantly overwhelmed. In just a few days, she was condemned by the entire internet. Extreme netizens even went so far as to splash paint on her door, and her parents, unable to bear the harassment, drove her out of the house. Her parents were already quite traditional in their thinking. They had so many daughters just to have a son. Therefore, they were never kind to Evelyn. In her previous life, if it weren't for me, she would have dropped out of school long ago, let alone graduated smoothly and eventually become engaged to someone as outstanding as George. However, human hearts are always greedy and fickle. In my previous life, just minutes before I died, Knight told me that it was all thanks to Evelyn's words. Otherwise, he would never have thought to kill my parents and brother. Now, as I watched the online outcry against Evelyn, all I can do is sneer coldly. A week later, the school couldn't withstand the online public opinion and allowed Evelyn to temporarily go home and rest for a few days. I heard from Tina that George took Evelyn in. He found a place for Evelyn outside. Thinking back to the werewolf's bloodthirsty cruelty and possessiveness in the previous life, I finally couldn't bear it anymore and decided to talk to George. That day, I called George and arranged to meet him at a coffee shop. I thought George would refuse. After all, he spends all his time with Evelyn now. But to my surprise, he agreed without hesitation. When I arrived, George was already there, and on the table before me, my usual favorite mocha had already been placed, along with 2 of my favorite desserts. I was somewhat stunned. For a moment, it felt as if I had returned to the past. Back then, George was just like this. When it came to my matters, he took care of everything meticulously. He was familiar with all my tastes and preferences, and knew everything I liked. Sometimes it even gives me the illusion that he actually has a crush on me, but he never confessed to me. In my previous life, I still had some expectations for him, but I was imprisoned by night before I could wait for his confession. I think he and Evelyn should have lived happily in the end. George's voice pulled me back to reality. What are you spacing out for? Come sit down. Oh, watching the man across from me skillfully arranging the tableware, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. George, he raised his hand to stop me. First, try the mocha here and see how it tastes. The barista at this shop just returned from studying abroad, and I heard his coffee is quite popular. Upon hearing his words, I lifted the coffee in front of me and took a sip. The taste was indeed better than any coffee I had tried before. George, I have something to say to you. He lifted his chin toward me. Try their desserts too. I hear they're quite good. Seeing him so calm and unhurried, I suddenly felt a surge of anger. My expression turned cold. George, don't use that approach you have with Evelyn on me. I came today to discuss something with you, and I'll leave once we're done. The man across from me clicked his tongue, not angered by my words. Still as fiery-tempered as ever, like a firecracker that goes off at the slightest spark, I tried hard to suppress the anger in my heart, with a hint of defiance. None of your business, just take care of your goddess Evelyn. George didn't argue with me anymore, he just looked at me, his gaze inscrutable. Go ahead, what did you specifically call me to talk about? Sure enough, Evelyn really holds a special place in his heart. I took a deep breath and looked at the man across from me. If I said, leave Evelyn, don't be with her, would you agree? George's eyes lit up, then immediately dimmed. Greta, I'm sorry, I interrupted him. George, do you really like her that much? George didn't speak, just hung his head low. I let out a bitter laugh. Forget it, you'd better take care of yourself. It's fine if you like Evelyn, but stay away from her. Samoyed. George suddenly looked up, a flicker of tension in his eyes. Why would you say that? I said calmly. Because that Samoyed seems to have a strong possessive streak. Both of us study zoology, so I'm sure you understand. You and Evelyn should avoid being too affectionate in front of the Samoyed. After saying that, I didn't bother to look at George's reaction. I tossed down 300 yuan and left. 2 weeks later, Evelyn, who had originally only taken a few days off to rest, suddenly applied for a leave of absence from school. 2 months later, I was at a mall in the city center picking out a birthday gift for my brother. I had my eye on a watch that was perfect in both price and style, and just as I was about to pay for it, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Salesperson, I want the watch she's holding, wrap it up for me. I looked up and saw Evelyn, dressed in designer brands, walking in through the entrance arm in arm with a tall, burly man. At that moment, I instinctively took 2 steps back, and my hand holding the watch trembled slightly. Images of being imprisoned and tormented in my past life flashed through my mind. A cold sweat slowly seeped down my back, soaking my inner clothes. In no time, the watch in my hand fell to the ground with a clatter. It drew an exclamation from the shop assistant. Ah! I quickly crouched down to pick up the watch, forcing myself to calm down. When I stood up again, I had regained my usual composure. I'm sorry, I'll compensate for it at the full price. Evelyn covered her mouth, showing an exaggerated expression. Oh my, Greta, it's you. I didn't even recognize you, running into me here. Are you quite surprised? Leaving you, I haven't ended up in a sorry state. Are you rather disappointed? Looking at the woman before me, I suddenly felt utterly disgusted. I gave a scornful laugh. What does it matter to me whether you're doing well or not? Evelyn didn't expect me to be so indifferent. And her expression instantly twisted into an ugly grimace. I caught a glimpse of Knight beside her, a flicker of cruelty and displeasure flashing in his eyes. Clearly, Evelyn taking the initiative to speak to me had already made him very unhappy. I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Evelyn, oh Evelyn, if you just behaved yourself, you might live a little longer, but it seems you don't want to. Evelyn composed herself and put on a fake smile again. She pulled Knight over from beside her. Greta, this is Knight, my boyfriend. What do you think? Isn't he handsome? After saying that, she covered her mouth. Oh dear, look, I forgot to tell you, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have met such a handsome guy like Knight. Oh, are you curious about where I'm living now? I said coldly. Not at all curious. I have no interest in you. I noticed that the look in Knight's eyes was no longer as bloodthirsty and cruel as before, however. Evelyn didn't seem to intend to let me off the hook just yet. Then I heard her say, "Did George not tell you? I'm currently living in his house. George is really something." I kept saying no need, but he just wouldn't listen. There was no other way. I had to reluctantly stay. Actually, I don't like him at all. I like Knight, but he's always pestering me. I saw that Knight's eyes turned strange after hearing Evelyn's words. I know. That's his way of showing anger. My heart sank. And I couldn't help but feel worried for George. Evelyn saying this in front of Knight undoubtedly puts George in the spotlight. Thinking of the tragic deaths of my parents and brother in my past life, my face instantly turned pale. No, I can't just stand by and watch George die like that. Evelyn, seeing my grim expression, thought I was upset by what she said. She covered her mouth, laughing with a smug look on her face. "Greta, so what if you're a rich young lady? No one likes you anyway. What does it matter if I'm Cinderella? All those men like me." Hearing this, I immediately laughed, pretending to show a hint of disappointment on my face. "Yes, Evelyn, you've been popular since high school. All the boys in the class liked you, while I, despite being a wealthy heiress, have no one who likes me. However, I really can't understand. It was you who personally told me you liked George back then. So how come you've now shifted your affections to someone else? This Mr. Fan clearly appears to be a noble and intelligent person. How could he be willing to live in George's house?" Evelyn's face turned pale and then flushed with anger upon hearing my words. "Greta, don't talk nonsense. When did I ever say I liked George?" "Oh, really not," I said, playing a recording. The recording was from when Evelyn and I were best friends. Originally, I just wanted to save it to tease her in the future. I never expected it would come in handy now. In the recording, it was Evelyn telling me that she liked George, and she also mentioned that her parents were very satisfied with him. Evelyn's face turned pale, ignoring her ashen expression. I continued, "Oh, I forgot to ask, how has your Samoyed been lately? I heard your parents don't like you keeping that Samoyed at all and even kicked both you and the dog out. What a poor Samoyed. What did it do wrong to be treated like this? After all, if it weren't for George taking you in, you and your Samoyed would probably be homeless. I always said George is a kind-hearted person, but, Evelyn, now that you have Mr. Fan, you should stop holding on to George in the future. For the sake of how much George has helped you and your Samoyed, let him go." "Greta, you, what nonsense are you talking? When did I ever hold George back? Besides, I already said, alright, I can see that Mr. Fan isn't the type to settle for being subordinate to others. He probably has his own grand villa, and it's clear that he loves you very much. As we humans often say, if you love someone, you should always keep them by your side. I suppose Mr. Fan thinks the same way, doesn't he?" After I finished speaking, I finally dared to look directly into those terrifying eyes. The man didn't speak, but he seemed to agree with my suggestion. I could see an excited gleam shining in his amber eyes. Ignoring Evelyn's contorted face, I nodded at the man. "Mr. Fan, I won't disturb you any longer. You and Miss Evelyn can take your time browsing." The man still didn't speak, just nodded coldly. As I turned around, the smile at the corner of my mouth faded, replaced by a faint, cold smirk. "Evelyn, since you're so eager to die, let the storm rage even more fiercely." After that day, I rarely heard anything about Evelyn again. I happened to hear from my dad that George had a breakup. I heard that the girl he liked is now with a super handsome guy and dumped him. George has been shutting himself at home all day, never stepping out. I breathed a sigh of relief. I thought to myself, at least I don't have to watch George get torn apart by Knight anymore. But thinking of George's despondency over Evelyn, my heart felt a bit sour. Will that guy George be completely defeated from now on? Forget it, no matter what, I am somewhat the indirect hand that broke him and Evelyn apart. I'd better go check on him. I searched all over Jay's City and finally found 2 out-of-print game discs, which I planned to give to George. Besides studying, his favorite thing is gaming. I thought that seeing these discs might help lift his spirits a bit. George's father and my father are good friends, and we used to play together often. Both our families are very familiar with each other. Butler Lucas saw me, a flicker of joy flashing in his eyes. "Miss Greta, are you here to see the young master?" I nodded, feeling a bit awkward. "Yes, Uncle Lucas, I heard your young master is heartbroken, so I came to check on him." Uncle Lucas looked utterly bewildered. A broken heart? Could it be that the young master was rejected by Miss Greta? But if Miss Greta rejected the young master, why would she rub salt in his wounds? Uncle Lucas felt a bit sorry for his young master, but then again, he thought, the young master didn't seem to show any signs of a broken heart these past few days. Uncle Lucas, I heard your young master hasn't left the house for many days. Has he lost weight? Miss Greta, my young master, he's doing all right. If having parties, playing music, singing, and dancing are considered good, then the young master is really doing fine. Seeing this, my heart tightened. Oh no, could it be that George has really fallen into a slump? Thinking this, I hurriedly made my way into the villa. George, don't do anything rash. What's the big deal about a breakup? Compared to losing your life, a breakup really isn't that important. Besides, you, the great young Master Green, are charming, handsome, and outstanding in both character and academics. Are you really afraid you won't find someone better? As I spoke, I hurriedly ran upstairs and knocked on George's door. However, after knocking for a long time, there was still no response from inside. I'm getting anxious, and my heart sinks along with it. George, don't do anything foolish. A woman like Evelyn, how could she be worth you risking your life for her? I banged on the door so loudly it shook the heavens, and I didn't forget to say to Uncle Lucas, who had followed me, Uncle Lucas, he's heartbroken and in a bad mood. Why didn't you keep an eye on him? Leaving him alone in the room is so dangerous. And also, are there any sharp objects inside? Are the windows and doors all ventilated? Miss Greta, the young master, he's not in the room. I was speechless. The hand that was knocking on the door froze awkwardly in midair. I looked at Uncle Lucas, wishing I could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Where is George? Uncle Lucas pointed upstairs. The young master is in the dance studio on the 4th floor, dancing. Huh. Dance studio, the 4th floor, that's even higher. If he jumps from there, it would be disastrous. Not dead yet, but half dead. I hurriedly ran upstairs. George, don't jump. However, when I saw the DJ music playing in the dance studio and the figures dancing wildly, I was instantly stunned. So, the dancing Uncle Lucas mentioned and the dancing I understood were actually not the same thing. George turned around and happened to see me at the door. I saw a flicker of joy in his eyes, and they gradually turned red. You're here? I nodded. Yes, I'm here. So, you've been reborn too? In George's bedroom, I looked at the man before me and asked. His gaze hasn't left me since I appeared. Upon hearing my words, he nodded. My heart trembled, and I asked the question that had been stuck in my throat for a long time. How did you die? He shuddered all over, and it took him a long while before he finally said, Greta, it's all in the past. But I wouldn't let him avoid the topic. George, tell me, how did you die? I want to hear the truth. Seeing my insistence, he could only let out a soft sigh. I've been looking for you for so long, but no matter how hard I try, it's as if you've vanished. In the end, I had no choice but to call the police. All the police in J City were mobilized, yet they couldn't find any trace of you. With no other options, I had to turn to Evelyn for help. I shuddered all over. In my previous life, I remember that by the time I died, George was already engaged to Evelyn. He begged his fiancée, Evelyn, to tell him my whereabouts. Would Evelyn easily tell him? Based on my understanding of Evelyn, she would definitely not let George off easily. What did you promise her? George's gaze flickered for a moment as he looked at me. Finally, he closed his eyes. She asked me to transfer half of the Green family's shares to her. What other conditions did she mention? I looked directly into George's eyes, not allowing him to evade. She said she wants to marry me, but during the marriage, she wants to be with Knight, and I must not interfere with her private life. I covered my mouth, filled with disbelief. Did you agree to her? George paused. George, are you crazy? How could you agree to such an unreasonable request from her? Do you love her that much? No, I don't love her. Then why did you still get engaged to her? George was puzzled but still replied, because it was one of the conditions she gave me for telling me your whereabouts. My eyes widened. So, in fact, George's engagement to her had nothing to do with liking Evelyn at all. But why didn't George find me? Did Evelyn not tell him, or was it noticed by Knight? He said he was dead, so how did he die? These questions, one after another, left me tangled in a mess for a moment. I look at George before me, never imagining that he would die. I always thought that in his previous life, he would have been happy. How did you die? Was it related to Evelyn, or is it related to Knight? Since he has also been reborn, and he says he doesn't like Evelyn, then why has he been protecting Evelyn all along, giving the impression that he likes her? In a flash of insight, I suddenly thought of something. My lips trembled. So, all this time, the reason you've been so good to Evelyn, defending her everywhere and giving the impression that you were pursuing her, was first to stir up Knight's possessiveness toward her, and second to shift Knight's attention from me to you, right? I bit my lower lip hard, tears welled up in my eyes. Who asked him to do that? I have been reborn too, and I will protect myself well. George gently wiped away the tears from the corner of my eye. Silly, why are you crying? I'm perfectly fine, aren't I? I struggled fiercely, hitting the man in front of me. George, why didn't you say it? In my previous life, I kept waiting for you to confess your feelings to me, but I never received your confession. Knight imprisoned me, and he even killed my parents and brother. I was so scared. I tried to escape several times, but he always caught me. Later, I finally managed to get away. I was going to look for you, but you're already engaged to Evelyn, and I was afraid it would affect your relationship. I went to find Evelyn, but I never expected. The immense despair and panic from my past life still feel as if they're lingering. I bit my lip hard, trembling all over. George held me tightly in his arms. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. It's all over now, Greta. In this lifetime, I won't let them hurt you again, never again. George, with reddened eyes, gently comforted the girl in his arms. In the previous life, Evelyn had indeed told him about Knight's residence. However, he never expected that when he finally found Greta, he would be met with her cold, lifeless body. He could hardly believe that the lively, adorable girl he had cherished in his heart had been tortured beyond recognition. It was only then that he realized the truth, that the idea of Greta not liking him was all a malicious lie spread by that wicked woman, Evelyn. Evelyn had been stirring up trouble between him and Greta, and because of his secret crush and his timidity, he had hesitated to speak up, falling right into Evelyn's trap and giving Knight the opportunity to take advantage. He had also never imagined that the ordinary Samoyed would turn out to be a werewolf. Afterwards, he pretended to submit to Evelyn and Knight, taking advantage of their intimacy. He set a fire and killed them. As a result, he was convicted and ultimately committed suicide in prison, after returning from George's house. My heart remained unsettled for a long time, knowing that in my previous life, George set fire to kill Evelyn and Knight to avenge me, but ultimately took his own life in prison. My heart inexplicably ached. George, in this life, I won't let that wolf and that person dirty your hands again. That day, as soon as I entered the classroom, I overheard my classmates whispering, "Hey, did you hear? Evelyn came to school today and brought an incredibly handsome guy, said to be her boyfriend. What's going on? Is Evelyn planning to continue attending classes?" One of the classmates showed a disdainful and jealous expression. Attend what classes? She's already hooked up with a rich guy. Does she even care about this lousy university anymore? Really? So, does that mean Evelyn is planning to drop out? Exactly. I heard it from my aunt too. As you all know, my aunt is a teaching assistant in our biology department. I heard that Evelyn's boyfriend is not only handsome but also incredibly devoted. He keeps a close eye on her. Oh my, it's like something straight out of a romance novel. I'm so envious of Evelyn. Honestly, Evelyn is quite lucky. She used to have Greta as her best friend, who always had her back. Even though she was broke, she lived a luxurious life, and now she's found such a handsome and wealthy boyfriend. Alas, comparing oneself to others is truly disheartening. Why don't I have such good luck? Tina, standing nearby, pouted. What's so special about it? That so-called handsome boyfriend might just be a pervert. After all, who would stand by and watch their girlfriend drop out of school without trying to stop her, right, Greta? I couldn't help but sneer inwardly, but I said, who knows, maybe some people just enjoy being controlled and watched. Greta, what's wrong? Are you just sour grapes because you can't have them? I looked up and saw Evelyn, dressed in designer brands, walking toward me. Her face was filled with unconcealed smugness. The other students all wore expressions of watching a good show. Evelyn, so what if you're a rich young lady? You still have to obediently study at this lousy school, with no men chasing you, no men liking you. I looked at her coldly. I'm a student. What else should I do if not study? Go home and sleep with men like you? The people in the classroom immediately looked at Evelyn with a hint of disdain and anger in their eyes. Most of the students present came from average family backgrounds and had worked hard to get into this university. Seeing Evelyn belittle the school they had fought so hard to enter naturally made them angry. You, Greta, don't think I don't know just because you're pretending to be indifferent. You're just resentful that I dumped George, the guy you liked, aren't you? The classroom instantly erupted into a clamor. Does Greta like the class monitor? How is that possible? Hasn't the class monitor always liked Evelyn? Didn't you hear her say she already dumped the class monitor? I heard the class monitor and Greta are childhood sweethearts. Greta is so pitiful, not only betrayed by her best friend but also by her childhood sweetheart. Who said I betrayed Greta? I looked up and saw George standing solemnly at the classroom door. When his gaze settled on me, he flashed a gentle smile. George, everyone says I don't like you. I already have Night, so why are you still clinging to me? Evelyn glared with dissatisfaction at George, who had just entered through the door. I couldn't help but sneer. Some people's brains are only used for daydreaming and making things up. George frowned, walked up to Evelyn, and looked at her with a stern expression. Evelyn, brains are meant for thinking, not for daydreaming and fantasizing. The classroom instantly erupted in a burst of laughter. Evelyn's face turned pale and flushed alternately. George, you're just lashing out in embarrassment. Although you're not as handsome as Night and don't have his charm, as long as you stop bothering me in front of Night from now on, I can reluctantly give you a chance. Everyone was already stunned, their mouths agape. They never expected Evelyn to be such a shameless woman. George put on an expression of disbelief. Evelyn, are you saying you want to be with me behind Night's back? Do you want to have your cake and eat it too? Evelyn chuckled lightly. Don't put it so harshly. You have money, Night has looks, and you both like me. I just don't want to hurt either of you. I've seen shameless people before, but I've never seen anyone as shameless as Evelyn. However, the next second, George walked up to me. Evelyn, it's a shame Mr. Fan still loves you so much. You actually want to have it both ways. Let me tell you, I won't let you succeed, and I won't let Mr. Fan get hurt either. The person I like is Greta. The reason I let you live in my house is just to make that Samoyed live a little better, so it doesn't have to suffer with you. Your parents actually agreed to let you keep the Samoyed, didn't they? It's just that you didn't want to raise it yourself, am I right? Evelyn's face turned pale, and then he spoke without hesitation. Yes, I actually don't like that Samoyed at all. It's not only difficult to raise, but also domineering and possessive. Sometimes, when it's unhappy, it even bites me. I've had enough of that beast a long time ago, so I threw it away. I broke out in a cold sweat instantly. So, Evelyn has no idea that the handsome guy she's talking about, Night, is actually the Samoyed she threw away. If Night hears what Evelyn said, based on my understanding of him, Evelyn definitely won't have it easy. Thinking, I pressed the stop recording button. Because of Evelyn's shameless remarks that day, the school now keeps her at a distance. The school leaders are relieved that she dropped out. Otherwise, what would have become of the school's reputation? I anonymously sent Evelyn's unrestrained conversation with George that day to Night. After that, I began preparing for my graduation ceremony, and after that day, I never saw Evelyn again, nor did I hear any news about Evelyn. 3 months later, George and I officially graduated. On graduation day, I was to deliver a speech as the representative of outstanding graduates. I had carefully applied exquisite makeup, and my brother had arranged for a custom-made, beautiful and luxurious gown for me. My whole family came to attend my graduation ceremony. As I watched the leader speaking on stage, I was reminded of my previous life. I could have had a bright future, with a loving family and a beloved partner, but because I listened to Evelyn's words and brought that Samoyed home, my life was rewritten from that moment on. My family died tragically, and I myself was tortured to death by that white wolf. As for my beloved, I looked at George beside me, who was gazing at me with deep affection, and my eyes reddened. For my sake, he died in the cold prison. George gently squeezed my hand and wiped away my tears. Fool, why are you crying? Don't be nervous, I'll be watching you the whole time. I shook my head. I'm not nervous, I added in my heart. I just can't believe it. I can attend the graduation ceremony alive and see my family and loved ones. After the leader finished speaking, it was my turn as the graduate representative to go on stage and give a speech. George gently squeezed my palm, signaling me to relax. I took a deep breath and slowly walked onto the stage, looking at my parents, my brother, and George in the audience. I lifted the corners of my mouth. I began to read the script in my hand. However, just as I was halfway through my recitation, I suddenly heard a commotion from the audience below. Someone screamed loudly, "Fire! Fire!" I looked down and my body suddenly froze. Who else could that be standing in the corner, with a big belly, holding a lighter, and looking at me with a strange smile? If not Evelyn, although she was now emaciated and looked like an old woman, I recognized her at a glance. Screams, wails, and the sound of running footsteps were all mixed together. In the crowd, there was no sign of my parents, my brother, or George. The crowd was packed tightly. a chaotic mess. Everyone screamed and rushed toward the exit. My face pale, I ran off the stage, shouting incessantly, "Brother, brother, Dad, Mom, where are you? George, George." However, my voice seemed so feeble amidst the noisy hall. I was jostled and pushed, stumbling to the ground. In an instant, scorching thick smoke filled the entire hall. At that moment, I felt utterly hopeless. Why, even after being reborn, was I still unable to protect my family? I had clearly done so much. I truly deserved to die. My consciousness gradually blurred, and in the last few seconds before I passed out, I seemed to see two tall figures rushing toward me. I was jolted awake by a pungent smell of disinfectant. Opening my eyes, all I saw was a sea of white. Suddenly, several anxious voices sounded in my ears. "Greta, Greta, are you awake?" Then, both of my hands were tightly held by two pairs of large hands. I weakly looked to both sides and saw my mom and dad each holding one of my hands. Their eyes read, "Mom, Dad, don't cry, I'm fine now, aren't I?" It was fine until I mentioned it, but once I did, their crying grew even louder. I had no choice but to try to divert their attention. "Dad, Mom, where are my brother and George?" My parents froze, their eyes darting away. My heart trembled, my pulse inexplicably quickened, a wave of panic surged into my chest, and the color drained from my face. "Dad, Mom, what exactly happened to my brother and George?" Cough, 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 cough. My violent coughing scared my parents. Just then, my mother said, "Be good, don't get worked up, don't get worked up. Your brother and George are just too tired and are resting next door, don't worry." Hearing this, my tears started to fall. My parents were so heartbroken that they couldn't stop crying. Okay, as long as you promise Mom not to get too worked up, I'll take you to see them." "All right," I nodded, but the tears just wouldn't stop. In the hospital room where George and my brother were, looking at my brother and George with their eyes closed, I cried my heart out. "Didn't you say my brother and George were fine? Why are they lying so still?" Dad wore an expression of being wronged, looking somewhat helpless. "Sweetie, your brother and George are just asleep. Of course they're not moving," Mom chimed in from the side. "Yes, Greta, your brother and George are just too tired and fell asleep. Let's go back first, and we can come see them again when they wake up." "Okay." I stubbornly shook my head. "I'm not going back. I want to wait here until they wake up." Finally, my parents had no choice but to have someone bring me a folding bed, letting me sleep on it while waiting for my brother and the others to wake up. A week later, I was discharged from the hospital smoothly. As for Evelyn and Knight, I heard they perished in that fire. George told me that he had actually guessed long ago that Evelyn wouldn't stay quiet, so he made arrangements in advance. And my brother and parents are aware of this. George had been monitoring Knight's villa for a long time. From the moment Evelyn escaped from Knight's villa, he had people following her. Therefore, all of Evelyn's movements were within his plan. He had already informed his friends in the fire department in advance. So, aside from Evelyn and Knight, no one perished in that fire. I was astonished. When asked how he was so certain that Knight would fall for the trap and come looking for Evelyn, he said that Knight had imprisoned Evelyn, violating her night after night, but had gradually fallen in love with her. However, Evelyn is not a woman who is content with her lot. She not only wants Knight as a man, but she also desires many other men. Knight is aware of her thoughts, and with his domineering and possessive nature, he naturally won't let her go. So, no matter where Evelyn flees, Knight will find her. Evelyn has guessed that I was the one who sent the recording to Knight, and she will definitely seek revenge. Therefore, George suspects that the first thing she will do after escaping is to come looking for me. As it turned out, Evelyn indeed came, and Knight's arrival was also within George's expectations. In the end, both Evelyn and Knight were buried in that great fire. I listened to George's words, feeling no ripple in my heart. A woman like Evelyn is destined to play with fire and get burned. A year later, George and I entered the marriage hall witnessed by relatives, friends, and classmates. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.